Okay, is everybody there? Enable Sophie? How do I enable full screen slides? Hi, everybody. Just figuring out how to make the slides full screen for you. Looks like it is. Yeah? They are. So we're okay? Hi guys, this is Carol Barash from Story to College. I will be here for the next hour to talk to you about storytelling and college application essays and how you can use storytelling to just empower and embolden all of your communications, from college essays to job interviews to asking somebody out on a first date. So we're here for an hour, and I would just really encourage you to ask me questions when you have them. You can type them into the box that says questions, and I will keep my eye on that chat box. And when questions come through that are related to the slides, related to the presentation, I may just, pick them up and incorporate them into the conversation. This is really your hour. It's your chance to get your questions answered about any aspect of college admissions essays, which is really my expertise. I will tell you a little bit about my company briefly, and then about myself, and then I'll get started. I started Story to College in 2010 to empower high school and college students to tell their stories, their own stories in their own voice, and to advocate for themselves and their boldest dreams. I've worked with over 10,000 students around the world, lots and lots of students in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, and around the world, from every type of high school and every type of background. So wherever you are logging in from today, welcome, and please use this time to get your questions answered and really to walk away. My idea of success for today is you learn a couple of tools you can use to write more powerful college application essays, and that you understand the role of storytelling in authentic communications in just every aspect of your life. So really, please do engage and let me know what your questions are and how I can answer them. All right, so a little bit of an outline of what I'm going to go over today. I'm going to talk about the neuroscience of storytelling and how it is that telling stories out loud, and using oral storytelling tools in your writing can make it richer and stronger and more vibrant, not only in college application essays, but in every aspect of communication, on the job communication, interpersonal communication, just really everything. It can make your everyday connections with people more authentic and more powerful. I'm going to teach you 5 tools from the Moments Method, 5 tools from my book, which is called Write Out Loud. And I'm just going to give you some tools that you can put to work immediately. I will save time at the end for questions. I'm going to try to allow at least 20 minutes for questions, maybe a little longer, maybe a little less, but my goal is 20 minutes. And then at the very end, I will give you some other tools that you can download from our website. So let's get started. All right, so college admissions officers talk about the unique role of the essay in the application process. And the most important job of your essays, a job that really can't be done anywhere else except a little bit in your interviews, is to reveal your character, to show who you are as a human being among other human beings. And this is how admissions officers distinguish between people who look exactly the same on paper. When I was in admissions, on a slow day, we'd read maybe 20 applications. But when we were down to the end, and there were still, hundreds of students we were considering for just a few spots, we could actually read quickly through, as many as 50 or 100 applications a day. And you start to remember just little bits of stories that students have told in their essays. Some of them stick with me, to this day. And this I'm gonna give you a couple examples in a minute, but this actually I'll give you one right now. Okay, so this is one of the most powerful essays really that I ever read. It's a girl from Columbia High School in Maplewood, New Jersey. I live in South Orange, which is next to Maplewood. And the essay started like this. It was the first day of ninth grade. I walked into the cafeteria on the first day of ninth grade, and all the black students were to my left, talking to one another. All the white students were to my right, talking to one another. Where was I? Where was I with my cappuccino-colored skin? Where was I with my black mother and white father? Where was I to sit for lunch on the first day of ninth grade? It still makes my heart get a little excited thinking about being in her shoes on that first day of ninth grade. So a great essay, right from the very first sentence, takes you into the life, into the experience of the person who's writing the essay. It's as if you're standing right there with her in this situation, that happens to lots of people, right? We all have situations in our lives when we don't know exactly what to do. We're the old rules don't apply anymore. We don't have the new rules yet. What do we do? So great essays just take you to the experience that that person has had uniquely in their own life. And this role of distinguishing between students who are similar on paper is even more important at more selective colleges, right? The 50 most selective colleges actually say the essay is one of the two most important things they look at in distinguishing students from one another. The first one is your curriculum, what courses you've taken and how well you've done in the hardest classes at your school. And then the second thing is how you tell your own story, how you present yourself in your essays. So a personal essay is a personal story, a personal essay. The essays you need to write in the college admissions process are very different from critical essays that you write in English class. A critical essay, you have a paragraph that's the introduction, you give examples, and then you kind of sum everything up in your conclusion. Well, if you treat yourself like a critical essay, like I'm great for this reason and here's 3 examples and I'm great for that reason again, you're going to look kind of silly and a little disingenuous, right? So you want to start at the other place. What's happened to you? What experiences have you had? What are the moments in your life that have been formational and transformational, the moments that there's clearly a before and an after? And you want to draw your reader into those moments, and you want to show them what life looks like, what the world looks like from your perspective, your unique perspective. We say at Story to College that the role of your essays is to build a bridge from what you've done in your life already to what you're going to do in the future. You make a case, you create reasons to believe in your future and your vision by showing people what you've already done. So you can think of your essay as creating a bridge from who you are today to who you'll be in college. And you want to choose the stories and write the essays that build that bridge most powerfully, that get the reader from an idea of who you are today to what difference it's going to make to have you as a member of that college community in the future. So, and each essay is an opportunity to build a different bridge from who you are today to who you'll be in the future. Each of your essays, if it's a college that you have your personal essay and then maybe you have 3 or 4 supplement essays, each essay should reveal a different part of your character. Each essay should tell a different story and add more information about who you are as a person and what you'll contribute to that college community. So why is storytelling so important in the first place? What you have here is a picture of human brains. These are functional MRIs. So these are MRIs that were taken while people were involved in telling stories and listening to other people tell stories. What's really amazing and unique about storytelling is 3 things happen in your brain simultaneously when you tell a story. Your memories are triggered, the emotions associated with those memories are triggered, and you want to act. And the person who listens to your story, the exact same combination of things happens in their brain. So their memories are triggered, the emotions they associate with those memories are triggered, and they want to act. So if you tell a sad story, you don't have to tell your reader you're sad, because they're going to conjure up from your story moments in their own life that are similar. They don't have to be exactly the same. This mental mirroring that happens through storytelling connects people at a deep interpersonal level. It does not have to be the exact same experience. So your story will trigger something in my memory, and then I will have a human connection with you. This is the basis of human community. It always works. It's deep in our brain chemistry, and you can count on it to work when you tell stories from your own experience, in your own voice, in your college application essays, or when you're in an interview for college or a job, and even when you're just talking to people. When you reveal moments from your own experience, you'll connect with them at a very deep level that they will remember. The first tool we're going to talk about today, you can actually try this while we do it, is called refresh. And we always do this first. We do this before an important meeting. We do this before an important presentation. In order to access the part of your brain that is the place where you're creative, in order to access storytelling and memories, you need to erase, you need to let go of the critical part of your brain. So just take a second, and if you have anything that's stressing you out, like, oh my God, will I have enough money to go to college? Am I even going to get into the colleges that my parents want me to go to? Will my parents let me go to the colleges I want to? Any of that stuff, or maybe you have a test tomorrow. Whatever that stuff is, just take a second, write it all down, and then crumble up that piece of paper and throw it away. Because when you're working on your essays or a job letter, or you're thinking about an email that you need to send that's really important, whenever you're doing something like that that's really connecting, that's designed to connect with another person, you want to just let go of all your doubts, all your judgments, all your criticism, and open up a space in your brain that's really creative and available both to your own experience and to the other person's experience. So tool number one is refresh, and tool number two is what we call transform scripts to stories. Now, what's a script and what's a story? A script is a general story that anybody can tell. A story, on the other hand, is something that's unique to you. So let me give you an example from my own life, okay? So I could tell you that when I was in college, I fought a lot with my mom, and I didn't want to take her money, right? Lots of people can tell that story. I'm not the only person who ever had fights with her mom in college. That's a script. Story goes like this. It's spring of my sophomore year in college. And I go to the dean's office, and I say to the dean, Dean Atherton, I think I want to take a semester off. What do I need to do? And he pushes some forms across his desk, and he says, well, you need to fill these out by tomorrow. Tomorrow's the last day that you can apply to take next year off. And I said, do I need anybody else to sign these forms? He's like, no. You're 19. You sign them, you're all set. And I walked from my dorm in Ezra Stiles College at Yale. I walked to the New Haven Green, and I sat down with my backpack on my lap, and I kind of had my hands like this. And a woman was pushing a shopping cart past the bench where I was sitting in the park. And she said, what is a pretty girl like you doing sitting in the park in the afternoon? And I said, I just don't know what to do. I want to take time off. I want to support myself. But my mom, I'm just like really afraid to tell my mom. And this woman, she really smelled like alcohol. And she was like, it's like a really holding on to her shopping cart. And she said, honey, sometimes you just got to do what you know you need to do. Someday your mother will understand, but you got to do what you got to do. I said, thank you, thank you. And I walked back to the dean's office and I signed the forms. And a month later, I told my mom, Mom, I'm taking off next year. I'm going to take next year off and I'm going to work. I'm going to support myself. And she said, that is the stupidest thing you've ever done. So when you are turning scripts to stories, you want to find a story that only you can tell, something that's really uniquely yours, and you want to go to a specific moment in that story that reveals something about you. If you learn something about me from that story, you can type it into the chat box. Tell me what you got about me from that story. And you tell it from your unique perspective, right? I could say, I make up my own mind, I do my own things, I sometimes listen to strangers. It's actually, I love strangers, I love meeting strangers, I talk to people on the train. I could tell you all sorts of things. That story probably told you all sorts of different things about me, right? So you want to find the stories that only you can tell, go to a specific moment or moments in that story that reveal important things about you, and then you want to tell the story from your unique perspective. Okay, so that's transform scripts to stories. Next, you want to tell the story in a way, and right, this is true in a college application essay, a job letter, an interview. You want to organize the story so you draw the reader in right at the first, right? That sentence about the first day of ninth grade, you know, it's the first day of ninth grade. Draw the reader right in. And in 3 sentences, we call them magnet, pivot, glow. You draw the reader in, something happens, something changes, you take action, and then you leave the reader with an idea about you. Okay? Magnet, pivot, glow. 3 steps. Let me give you another example of a 3-sentence story. This is another one from my life. This is actually true. This is something that I wrote my own college application essays about. My friend Nancy said there should be a homeroom where we don't have to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I said to my AP history teacher, there are a bunch of students who don't like having to say the words under God in the Pledge of Allegiance. What would it take to get us a separate homeroom? When she said, you'd have to petition the school board, I nodded. So in 3 sentences, that's the story. My friend Nancy wants to do something. She was an atheist. I wasn't. But I thought it was important that those people had their own homeroom, so I stood with them. I went to my AP teacher and found out how to do it, and she helped me do it. That's the whole story in 3 sentences. You can distill almost anything on your resume, anything in your life down to 3 sentences. And it's a great exercise when you're prepping for interviews to think about what are the 3 sentences that really convey the heart, the meat, sorry if you're a vegetarian, that convey the key information about what you're saying in 3 sentences. Draw the reader in, change the action, and then finish the story. Stay in the story the whole time. Magnet, pivot, glow. The next tool I'm going to share with you is called Focus Out. And the idea here is to get out of your own head, right? I often tell students that if it happens in your own head, it doesn't count. It only happens if it happens in the world with other people. So when you have things like I realized, we talked about, I felt, you want to take those things that happen essentially in your own mind and you want to tell them instead from the world that's shared with other people. And there's basically 3 types of things that happen in your head. Judgments, Like that was the most important day of my life. That was, it really bothered me that. Internal dialogue. We talked about, or I thought, I imagined, emotions. I was really angry. I was really sad. And you can replace any of those with details, by which we mean sensory details, right? Things that happen. If you go back to that other slide, that's the senses. Details is sensory details. So things you saw, things you heard, smelled, tasted, or touched with your own hands. So for instance, today, it's a beautiful day in New York, right? That's beautiful is in my head. What can I specifically tell you? I can tell you that when I got on the train in New Jersey this morning, I was wearing my winter hat and my winter coat. When I went to lunch, I unzipped my coat. And when I was coming home from lunch, I almost left it on the chair because I didn't need it anymore. So that's a detail, right? At lunch, we started laughing. We laughed about many things, actually. Had a great time. Great time is in my head. We laughed about somebody who used to work at Story to College. Actually, laughed about is also in my head. Could change that with the exact words that we said. Smell there was wafting from the other table. There was the smell of like peppers at lunch. The food we tasted, there were eggs, there was spinach, there was goat cheese. So each of these things really connects with people, all of the details, sensory details. People always remember them. And by the way, if you're looking for a topic for an essay, look to meals. Everybody eats. The job of a great essay is just to describe your life as it really is. So you probably have at least a couple opportunities a day when you eat, either on the run or around the table or with your friends or with your family or by yourself. So meals are a great place to start thinking about and preparing a repertoire of stories that you can share with other people in the admissions process. So you want to replace judgments, internal dialogue, and emotions with sensory details. External dialogue, that's the exact words that people said, right? So instead of, we talked about some really heavy stuff, my friend said to me, I think my mom is really depressed. Today she didn't even get out of bed before I went to school. So replace things in your head with the actual words that people say. And then descriptions, this is like the time and place that something happens. Is it spring? Is it winter? Is it in school? Is it at home? Just where are you in time and space? Is it a historical moment that has resonance for people? Like yesterday was the anniversary, I think 150th anniversary of the Gettysburg Address. Maybe it was 2 days ago. Anyway, it was this week. I apologize. It's been a rushed week. So it would be really it might be interesting that you had a conversation in AP history class on an anniversary of some important date. Maybe yes, maybe no. But pay attention to where you are in time and space, because that helps the person who's reading your essay to get specific information about you rather than general information about you. And this next page is just some additional examples. We're going to go through these one by one of how you can focus out, how you can take something that happens basically in your mind or in your emotions, and you can turn it into something that other people can share. And these are the kinds of things that, like, often when we write a first draft, or even we tell a first draft of a story, these are the kinds of things that come the first time. And this is how you can work with your own writing to make it more vibrant and specific. So the first one, I felt overwhelmed. What does it feel like to be overwhelmed? Like, if somebody was watching you, what would they see? What would your body do? What might you say? What would you look like? What does it, what happens to you? Like me, overwhelmed, feels like my chest is being crushed. It's like I'm being physically crushed. That's can't breathe, can barely talk, feel like I'm being crushed. So that's my overwhelmed. Your overwhelmed might be something else. What exactly is it? And, you could feel overwhelmed, but you might be a great poker player. You might be a great actress. Maybe nothing shows. That would be interesting, right? So what does it look like to other people, and what is the experience like to you? If it's worth saying I felt overwhelmed, then explain it in a way that actually conveys the experience to someone else. It might not be important for the story, but if it is, make it palpable, make it real. Second example, imagine my surprise that all the signs at the university were also in French. This is a sentence from a story of a girl who's in Paris. Well, you know, that's going to happen in France. But do you need to tell us what to do, right? You need to say imagine. You don't need to say imagine my surprise. Just say the signs were all in French. I couldn't read them. Or the sign said, and then put the word in, you know, in French. What did it say? What could you say instead that could convey this, like, shock, right? That actually everything, it wasn't just French class that was different in France, but that everything, the words, the signs, the everything, that she was shocked and alien and out of her usual element. How could you convey that in a way that was specific and actually resonated with, like, we all have feelings of alienation in different parts of our life, right? There's moments when we're overwhelmed and everything just feels like too much. What could she have said that would convey that, right? That essay about the first day of lunch in ninth grade was actually a similar kind of overwhelmed feeling, right? So what could you, how could this, if this was your essay, what could you say that would convey to the reader exactly what your experience was? Again, I realized even though we seem different, we're really all the same, right? This is the kind of global statement that a lot of students feel like they need to end their essay with, right? That this idea that a college essay needs some big moral lesson at the end. But actually, it's much more powerful when you let your story convey the lesson. You don't need to say that was the day that I realized that even though all people are different, we're actually all the same. That just, it takes the air and life out of a great essay to, like, tell the reader the moral at the end. So what could you do instead to show people who are different but actually the same, right? These three sentences are actually from the same essay, and each of them could be its own story, could reveal something different about the author's character. So you want to look at your essay and figure out where's the action. What is the essay telling the reader about you as a person, about you as a human being among other human beings? And how can you draw out the details and dialogue and description in the story to convey that to your reader? Okay, and finally, this is probably the most important tool of all. In fact, in our 12 tools, it's number 12. It's write out loud. To write out loud is to write as if you have people's attention. You win people's attention by assuming you have it. It's a little bit counterintuitive. But when you speak as if you have something important to share with people and they're listening, you assume that they're listening to you and only you. It's almost like in your essay or in your cover letter, it is like an interview. You're just talking to them one-on-one, and you're telling them something important from your own experience that you just want to share with them. You know, when you're, the people who read college admissions essays, the people who work in college admissions, they do the work because they really like young people. And they want to bring to young people everything that college has to offer and everything that their college in particular has to offer. So you can write the essays. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to prove that you're good enough. You just need to talk to them. Have a conversation as if you're part of the same community already. You're writing your essays. You're having an interview with them as if you're already part of the same community. And you're sharing information from that place of community, that place of shared interest and shared beliefs. You may be different in all sorts of ways, but you're writing from a place of shared community with them. So with that, I think I'm going to end here, and I will be happy to answer your questions. If you have questions, please type them in. No questions? All right, guys. I'm going to go on to the final slide, which gives you some you can reach me at Story to College. If you would like to download free resources from our website, it's storytocollege.com/resources. We have a guide to the Common App. We have examples of successful essays, lots and lots of other resources, personal essays by famous authors. Be happy to, those resources are all completely free and you can download them anytime. And our private coaching starts at $75. If you want to send us an essay, we can review a draft, just write comments on it and send it back to you within 2 days. Usually it's within 24 hours, but over the weekend it sometimes takes 2 days for $75. Lots of other options, lots of other materials to help you on our website. And please feel free to like us on Facebook and to follow us on Twitter. We are here to answer any questions you have about, okay, I've got a question. All right, let's see, click for more. Okay, so this is a question from a mom who's saying, my daughter feels that she's not interesting and does not have anything unique to say. Okay, so your job as her mom is to remind her that she's really fantastic and that wherever she goes to college will be a very lucky place to have her as part of the community, and to help her just find the things that just show who she is, who she uniquely is. You know, we all feel that we're not very interesting. And especially, it's very hard to be a teenager in the early 21st century, right? There's just a lot of pressure, there's a lot of competition, a huge amount of stress, but the world needs all of us. And Oscar Wilde said, be yourself, all the other roles are taken. That's what each of us has to do. You know, whoever we are and wherever we are, we can make an extraordinary difference. And I'm sure your daughter has already made a really big difference in the world, and just, help her to reveal who she is as a person. She doesn't have to have been, won a Nobel Prize or, been president of the student council. She just needs to be herself. And the stories that reveal who she is are what colleges are looking for. So I hope that's helpful. You can ask me a question on Facebook or Twitter, or send me an email if that didn't answer your question. Okay. Can I write an essay on how I changed my dietary requirements and the effect it had on me? So I'm not sure I actually understand the question, but let me try a couple of different things that this question, if you want to ask me more, go ahead. But let me say, sometimes people change what they eat for like spiritual reasons, to have a kind of different relationship to their community, maybe to their religion. And as long as that is answered in a very specific way, like maybe the moment of choosing to make a change in dietary habits, to change something from being habitual to being intentional, I think that could be very powerful. It's a really interesting way to convey. It's an interesting way to convey your religious commitments, and I think that's actually very, very interesting. I get asked a lot about, can I talk about eating disorders? Can I talk about mental illness? And I think those things are extremely challenging to write about. I wouldn't say don't write about them, but you want to make sure that you convey to a college a sense that you're healthy and you're okay and you're ready for college. So those things, I think you want to just be careful that you don't convey a sense of being kind of still too chaotic, or colleges can't legally discriminate against anyone because of emotional issues, but it can be some of those things conveyed in a way that's too raw can be a little bit scary to read. So you want to make sure that you're giving the college a sense that you're ready for adult life on your own in college. Any other questions? Just see if I have any hanging out here. Okay, here's another question. Thank you. Okay, I'm a high school senior and I'm applying to colleges. Could I write about my basic everyday life for an essay, or should I write more about rare or epic experiences? Well, if you've had an epic experience, if you're Odysseus, I would write about part of that journey you had. But seriously, you need to be very specific, right? You can't write about your whole life in a college application essay. If you try to convey your whole life, you won't write specifically about anything. And great essays are very specific. They're very focused. They talk about a moment in a life, and a moment when something happened that you really changed. You learned something, you grew, you made a difference in the lives of other people, or somebody else made a difference in your life. So, I think that those everyday transformations, in fact, are epic. You don't have to have been Odysseus to write a great essay, and you certainly don't have to go looking for something wild and crazy and like capital U unique to write a great college application essay. I think that everyday experiences are very powerful in connecting with other people, and that's really the job of a college essay. I often say that it's like you go to a beach and you scoop up a handful of sand, and that handful of sand is like all the moments of your life, and you can in fact write about any one of them. So just pick them out and start exploring them. You'll figure out which ones are best. You might have to try some different ones to figure out which ones tell the stories you want to tell to college, but you can absolutely use everyday moments. And I think everyday moments are very powerful because we all have them. So other people will get them and they will be reminded of their own experiences and they'll relate to you. Are simple daily life topics more attractive to college admissions counselors? Well, that's a really interesting question. I think the thing that there's a few things that college admissions officers are looking for. In a survey we did about a year ago of 50 New York State private college admissions counselors, they said that the three things they were looking for was a unique perspective, so what's happened uniquely to you, strong writing, and storytelling helps writing to move forward, so it creates strong writing, and then an authentic voice. I think that the reason that everyday topics are powerful and attractive and successful in college admissions essays is this authenticity factor, right? That when people try to write things that are like just over the moon, I discovered the meaning of life, it just doesn't ring true, because at 17 you can't know everything. And the fact that you're 17 and curious and know that you've got your whole life in front of you, that's important. It's important to reflect on your own experience. It's important to be curious about your own life and the lives of other people. And it's important to be genuine and authentic and honest, not to try to be something that you're not. So if you start with simple everyday experiences, you're more likely to be authentic than if you're starting with something big and over the top that may not ring true. So that's a great question. I think it's more what's attractive is openness and authenticity, and somebody who's going to show up and really be a strong and engaged and honest and authentic member of the community. Colleges are looking for students who are going to show up and really engage in everything that they have to offer. So show that openness, show that availability. show that you're going to, make a really big difference in the community as a human being. What do you, how are you going to make a difference as a person? Your grades show who you're going to be as a scholar. Your resume shows all your achievements, the activities section of the application, the common application, universal application, all of them. Your activities show up somewhere else. Your achievements, your awards, that all shows up somewhere else. So show, not your brain so much, but your heart. Who are you as a human being? What will I miss? What will my college miss if I don't admit you? Those are the kinds of stories you should look for. Any more questions? All right, so I look forward to hearing from you on Facebook and Twitter. Remember, tell the stories that only you can tell, and tell them as only you can tell them. Thank you so much, and really have a great time in the college admission process, and live your biggest, boldest life. Bye-bye.